Hello everybody. I've put together a long drawn out series on building a stand and a feed table system for my wood planer. I borrowed an idea that I had seen online in multiple places, injected my own design elements into it, and came up with a stand and a system that's going to work for me. It is one that can be taken down and stored relatively easily and set up and used within about 5 minutes of setup time. So it is long, it is drawn out. I pretty much shoot the whole thing almost in real time, so feel free to watch if you like. I hope you enjoy it. Hello everybody. Well, my dust hood showed up on Monday. That was about 38 bucks to the door. I got the last one on one particular website. One of my viewers had noted that he'd found one somewhere for about the same money, shipping and all, so not too bad. There's a link in the, I believe, on part 9 of the video for that. So this thing is about ready to go. I am going to have to work out some type of a support on what I'm doing to keep the hose away from the material as it's being fed out the back. So right now I'm getting ready to start my build for the stand and the feed tables. And I had seen a couple examples on the internet, and I'm going to follow their lead on a portion of it. Rather than try to build a table that just starts here and comes out like a factory type table would and have to deal with leveling and this, that, and the other, I'm going to feed a new piece all the way through it that is 6 feet long. So I'll have approximately 3 feet on either side of the center line of the cutter, which should be well enough for anything that I would want to do. So I have it designed, and I'll show you my plans here in just a second. But we're going to start the build on this. This is going to be long, and I'm going to get kind of detailed in it like the separator video I put together, because even though I have a plan, it is going to be built on the fly. So I'll step through it and you guys can take a ride if you like. Okay, well, here are my plans. This is my conception phase right here. Yeah, everything's starting to take shape. And then I'm really honing in on my design on this one right here. This is really where it's coming together. And we're going to end up somewhere about right here. So that is our goal, and that's the finalized design right there. Hopefully you can make out all my dimensions and everything on here, because this is the way I design stuff. And it will turn into something, I assure you. Now, this is where I'm starting to get my material list together. And now I've finalized my material list. So this is what we're going to build on. So we're going to start here, get our material list, and we're going to end up here. So this should be entertaining. Okay, I'm inserting a clip here of all the materials that I used throughout the project. I'm going to run down through this real quick. I used 4 3 3/8 by 16 pitch 2-inch long hex bolts, 2 3/8 by 16 2 1/4 inch hex bolts. I couldn't get 2 1/4, so I bought 4 2.5s and cut 2 of them down. So 2 3/8 by 16 by 2.5 hex bolts, 4 3/8 16 by 3-inch hex bolts, 25 16 flat washers, 4 3/8 by 16 nylock nuts, 8 3/8 by 16 T-nuts, a box of 1 5/8 drywall screws. Now I typically use fine drywall screws for MDF projects, but I'm going to change that over because the coarse work a little bit better. So I would recommend going with coarse. 6 3-inch screws. Those can be drywall screws, deck screws, anything like that. You could probably get away with 2.5s. A sheet of 3/4 inch MDF, 1 14-inch by 10-foot long roll of galvanized flashing, 1 pint of contact cement. I bought a quart, but a pint should be enough to do this project, and 1 syringe of 2-part epoxy. I bought the Gorilla stuff. So that should be a pretty concise list of everything that I used throughout the project. I've turned all my chicken scratches into a layout sheet here, and this is what I'm going to use to cut my sheet good down. I'm using a 3/4 inch 4x8 sheet of MDF. Now keep in mind, MDF is 49 by 97. So I had a little extra leeway, and I was saying that my cut list is tight, and I wanted to get everything out of one sheet, because if I needed another whole sheet, that was going to cost me another 35 bucks or so. So everything is laid out specifically here, and I'm using a program called Cutlist Plus. It's a neat little program. Once you have your dimensions of the pieces that you want, you can put your inventory in, mark them down. It'll give you suggested layouts. You can change it for, you know, preferring rip cuts or cross cuts, you know, whatever. But anyway, so I need to break my sheet good down, and that's what I'm going to do next. So what I'm going to do first, and I can't show the whole thing on here, so I'm going to focus up in this area right here where it says 28.5 inch by 21. So we're 21 across right here. I'm going to give myself just a tiny bit, like a 1/16 inch for a cleanup pass down here. So I will cut this. This will be my first cut right here, and I'll take this down. I'm trying to draw through the viewfinder, sorry. I'll take this all the way off to the edge and break this off. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll come down, because I don't have a panel saw or anything like that, and I can't manage anything 28.5 inches wide in my table saw because I don't have a sled for that either. I'm going to make this cut, this cut will be an exact cut with a guide and a circular saw right there. That'll be my next cut that I make. Okay, so then we'll have this piece in essence almost finished, except for making a final pass to make it a true 21 inch based off this factory edge here. And then we'll have this section down here that we'll break up later, and I'll go through all these cuts in detail. I'm just trying to get the sheet goods busted down into a manageable position to where I can work them in my table saws or my chop saw. And the next cut I'll make is from the edge I just took off here. I'll come in here and cut across this, giving myself a little bit of a kerf allowance here. And this program allows in kerf, but I'm going to add a little bit more because I have some here at the edge. So I'll take this all the way off to here, and that'll be my second piece. And then we'll bust these out later. And then the next cut I will do is the remaining portion, which would be here and here. I'm going to pick the middle section, and I'll knock this off into another manageable piece. And then we'll break them down further to make all the pieces for this project. So I don't, you know, have the dimensions on everything. Obviously I do here, but I'm not going to publish this. But if you follow the video, I'm going to go through in detail everything I'm doing, step along the way. And like I said, if you're following my exact build for the exact machine I'm working on, then it should work out for you. But if you deviate from the plan, feel free to use any of my information here at your disposal. But bear in mind, and I'll state it again, everything I'm doing here is extremely tight. So just for example, after I knock this off and then cut these to length, there's not much in here. That's maybe 3 or 4 inches. Same here, just little sections and scraps. I am going to pay special note onto this piece right here. I may do a very odd cut in here to allow me to have enough material right here left over as a sizable piece to make that bracket I was speaking of to support my hose, because there's really no other place on here where I can get enough material for that. Alright, well, I'm getting ready to show my layout here, but I wanted to speak a little bit about the saw itself and how I set them up. Like a table saw, a circular saw, it's just turned upside down. You don't want tons of blade hanging out the bottom. That's a recipe for disaster. It can get hung up and kick back on you and can possibly take your leg off. So, you know, as you can see, I've just barely got a few teeth protruding through here. So this has got so many teeth on the blade, I've got more than a few in contact with the material. But this is a 40-tooth Diablo blade that I got free a couple years ago. I just kind of been holding on to it. This is a finishing blade. I really like the Diablo blades. So I'm going to give this a test run since my other blade was missing a few teeth. Another thing I wanted to note is I've got the material set up on the sawhorses here, and these are wooden horses, obviously. A lot of people, if they have plastic horses and stuff like that, they'll hang the sheet good off the side or whatever they're cutting, and then they try to make their cut and manage it with one hand, and it starts falling. Just cut right through the sawhorses. You know, if you guys have plastic horses or something like that, find a way to put a 2x4 on top, and they're sacrificial. You know, you just cut through your sheet good, you cut through a little bit of the sawhorse as well, and make your cut, and everything is still supported on the table and nothing wants to fall. So just a little tech tip there for you. Okay, well, we're getting ready to make the first cut. I'm not sure if this is going to show up on the camera, but I've just measured in from this top corner way out there in 21 1/8 inch. I'm leaving myself an 1/8 inch to take off. I had a little more room. I said I was going to use a 16th, but I lied. An 1/8 inch, so I've got my straight edge set up here. I've measured off my blade. I'm not going to give that measurement because everybody's blade is going to be different. Measured off my saw to the inside of the blade, because the finish cut's going to be on that side, and I'm going to run this guide down through here. I'm going to be probably going fairly slow with this blade since it's a fine tooth, but I'll be moving along anyway. So here we go. I didn't realize how dull my old blade was. That thing cuts like butter. Okay, well, I'm laid out for my second cut. This edge down here towards the left was up top. That long side over there is what we just cut off. I've marked an F up there, an F here, and an F here for the factory edges because I'm going to use those later. I've also marked that piece number 1 and this piece number 2. This is 28.5 inches, which is going to be my cutoff. This is a specific measurement because I can't rip anything accurately with my table saw because my fence doesn't go wider than that. So I've taken care to make sure this cut is going to be nice, clean, and accurate. So I'm now ready to cut this piece. So there's that, quick and easy. I wanted to note one more thing when you're using circular saws with extension cords. You know, I'm using the saw in my right hand, but I'm looping the cord over across my chest and over my left shoulder behind me, and keeping a little slack out for the saw. That way your cord's not always snagging on you, and you can actually hold it with the other hand and whip it out of the way while you're working. Okay, well, I just took the edge off and rotated my material. So now this edge is a factory edge. It's marked with an F right here as well as down on that end. This is piece 3. It's been marked. This is being taken off to 18.25 inches, and it will be further reduced down. So I left some saw kerf in there, and I left myself about an 1/8 inch of wiggle room to make sure I fit everything in proper. Here we go. Easy enough. Okay, well, this piece hasn't moved. It still has a factory edge on that end and on the far end over there. This is going to be a length of 72 inches, and I'm making this cut exact because I don't have any good way to make that cut after the fact. And this piece is ready to set aside.